Hi everyone, my name's Callum and I am an implementation consultant here at E1. Today I'm going to show you how to build a age receivables report for Business Central using Popdock. The age receivables report is something we get asked for a lot, particularly from customers moving from Dynamics Great Plains to Business Central. It's something that was embedded quite well into Great Plains, but the current Business Central solution has a few gaps. In BC, the age receivables report is a PDF document, so it's quite stagnant, difficult to work with, and doesn't allow for filtering once we have the report. The version I'm going to show you in Popdock is a lot more dynamic. It's going to allow for additional filtering on the report, as well as kind of tracking the changes made to the sales data in Business Central so we can see them straight away in our report so it doesn't get outdated as quick as the current Business Central version. So if you're working with customers that are moving from Great Plains to Business Central, this video will be particularly interesting to you, as well as anyone else who wants to learn about how to build custom reports using Popdock. We're going to cover a few tools such as Query Builder, Summary Lists, and Calculated Fields. So to get started, I'm going to show you the current solution in Business Central for age receivables, and then I'll dive into the version that you can build with Popdock. Okay, so here we are in Business Central, and we can access their age receivables report through search. And you'll see here, you're kind of greeted with a screen where you have to input all of the kind of pre-filters that you want to put on this report. So you can see them all here, quite a lot to fill out. And then once you're ready, you can come over here to do print or preview. So I'll preview this to show you what it looks like. So here we are. As you can see, it's a pretty stagnant PDF report. I can't do any additional filtering on this report once I have it. And you can imagine it might be quite difficult to manage if we have a lot more than the 4 customers I have in here. So it can be quite difficult to kind of navigate through this. The other big issue with this as well is that it isn't live or up to date. So as soon as any changes are made to the Business Central sales data, this report is essentially going to be outdated and missing any of the additions that have been made. So that is what Business Central has for age receivables. Now I'm going to show you what you can build with Popdock. So I'm going to come over here to the Popdock add-in for Business Central. Once it loads, I'm going to select my custom report that I built and added in here called Customers with Aging Amounts. And then you'll see here the report. So what we have here is all of my customers and their receivables broken down into these aging buckets. So the totals you'll see will be quite similar to the solution built in Business Central. However, I have a lot more filtering ability and overall user experience is much better here. So I can do things like quickly order this data to show me, descending, ascending. I can add additional ordering here so I can get these all in an order so I can kind of see this broken down a lot more clearly. And then I can do things like further filtering this data. So again, I only have a few customers in here, but if I had a much bigger list and I wanted to drill down to a specific customer, I can do that here and type in my customer number. Or if I wanted to kind of get a breakdown, if I wanted to see all of the customers that had a 90 days past due greater than, 10,000, for example, I can add that filtering in here as well. And there's no really limit to how many filters I can add in here. I can get really specific with what I'm looking for. Also the option for grouping. So I'll use this city column as an example. I can drag this up here and now I'm getting a breakdown of this age receivable report by city. So overall, just a lot more dynamic, a lot more flexibility with what I'm able to do here. And the other really useful thing that I mentioned as well is that I'll see any updates that are made in Business Central in this report. So for example, if we take maybe, let's see, this customer here, Trade Research, and they have this amount in 90 days past due. If I jump over to their customer ledger here, there's the corresponding amount here. So let's say, for instance, I change this due date here to something that's a bit more current. I'll put it in the 60-day bucket, for example. Let's save that. So now when I come back to my Popdock report, you'll see this amount here should move once I hit the refresh. Yeah, and there we go. So that amount is now in the 30 to 60 bucket. So you can imagine when people are working on all these invoices in Business Central and constantly making changes, and these amounts are changing kind of, by the hour, by the minute, we can kind of get that live data in here in this report. So we're not going to run into the issue where our PDF is kind of outdated. So we have a lot more flexibility and up-to-date data in here. So next I'm going to jump over to Popdock and show you how I built this report. Okay, so here we are in Popdock, and I'm going to walk through how to build this report. So to start off, I'm going to access my Business Central Sandbox connector. And the reason I'm going to do that is because the base list that I've used for this final report is built using Query Builder. So here is the report that I've built here for our base list. And the reason I'm using Query Builder here is it's going to allow us to create kind of custom views and custom lists based on the table level data in Business Central. So overall, my final report is going to be a lot more efficient than if I just did this using a regular join list. And I'm going to have access to kind of all of the custom fields or any customizations that are on the Business Central environment. So you can see here the Query Builder list that I've built. So I'm using the customer ledger entry as kind of the base transactional data for this list. And then I'm just joining it into the customer here on the customer number to bring in some additional fields from the customer to allow for better filtering and better kind of visualization of the data. So you'll see city there as an example. You would have seen me group by that earlier on. So that's not a field that's directly on the customer ledger entry. So I've just brought in the customer here to add in those kind of filterable fields. As well as if you were doing this for a customer, they may have kind of custom built fields for their customers, and they'll all be accessible here in the Query Builder tool. So yeah, as I mentioned, that is the base list for this report. So once I'm happy with this, I can go ahead and publish this, which is done through here. And then I'll just click that publish button. Once that's published in the sandbox, I'm going to jump over to my production connector. And then to get that list in the production connector, just going to publish my correct sandbox here by hitting this publish button. So once that's done, we'll see that custom built Query Builder list in my production connector. So here it is. And we can dive in here and take a look at it. So yeah, you'll see all the fields that I've selected there that are available here. So the next step from this is I'm actually going to add some calculated fields to this report. So what I'm doing here is starting to build out those aging buckets. So you'll see here I have calculated fields 1 to 30 days past due and all of the aging buckets that you would have seen in their final report. So I'll just take a look at this one, for example, the 1 to 30 days past due, to show you exactly how I built that. So I've just given it the name, selected currency for the field type, giving it that summary method as well. So we see that nice summary in the bottom and giving it 2 decimal places as well here. So I'm using the field language Popdock script, and I have my script built out here. So essentially what this is doing is an if statement. So it's saying if the days between today and due date are greater than 0. So that's going to be the, 1 essentially. So greater than 0 is 1. And the days between today and due date are less than 30. We're going to put that remaining amount as the amount to enter here. And then if it's not, so if the due date, if it's outside of the parameters here, I'm going to put in 0. So essentially what's that doing is for each one of the transactions in the customer ledger entry, if it's falling between these date parameters, it's going to give it the remaining amount in the column, and if not, it's going to give it 0. So we can give that a test as well here just to make sure everything's working okay. We can also do a calculate a single result. So we have this is very useful new feature that we have. So you can kind of test this out here. So if I put in 100 here and the date equal to today, we're not going to get anything because it's not in our date parameters. And then if I select something a little bit further back, we can recalculate this and we'll get 100. So we can see exactly how that calculated field is working. The other thing to note is that I haven't written this all from scratch. Popdock has pre-built-in functions here that make this very easy to do. So add function, and you have your logical here. So you can start with your if statement. Test when value is true. So when value is true, I'm going to put in remaining amount. There, I'll just put that one in for the time being. And when not true, 0. So I'll remove this and put in my remaining amount here. So now we have the kind of start of this statement built out. And then we just need to put in this part of it here to get the full function. And again, Popdock has a lot of this built in as well. So I'll start with my days between function. So date, days between, spell that right maybe. Yeah. So I'm just going to put in, due date here, and then to the date, and I have this relative date option, so I can enter today. So you can see how this is starting to be built out. I've just actually put these in the wrong way around, but it's easy to fix. And then we're just putting in greater than 0. Remember, we're making an expression here that is either true or false. And then I'll put an and statement in, and then again, I can do another one of these add functions from Popdock, or else I can just copy and paste the one I already have here and just change around it slightly to be greater than or equal to 30. So you can see how quick it was to kind of build out that function in Popdock. I'll just remove this so that we're getting a number back here instead of a string. And we have the calculated field built out. So I'll delete that for now. And just jump back here to show you the rest of them. So yeah, everything else is, all these other calculated fields are going to be quite similar. So essentially what we can do is just copy the one we made there, bring it into the next one here, put this one in as our next aging bucket, 30 to 60 days. And then what I did was just change around the numbers here to 60. And then we have our next one. So yeah, you can just continue that process for each one of the aging buckets. You don't have to use the 1 to 30, 30 to 60 that I've used. You can make them in any kind of way that you want to get what you're looking for here. So now that we have those calculated fields built out, essentially what we have, and I'll preview this to show, is aging buckets at the transactional level. So we have we have these calculated fields. A lot of these are going to be 0, by the way, because of the dummy data that I have. So we have like customer name, document number, document type. So you can see we have this at the transactional level. So each customer is going to have, multiple transactions in here. So this might be a useful report as well, but I'm going to bring it one step further to get that final report that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to do that by going back to my connector here and adding a custom list. So what I've done here is added a summary custom list. So you can do that from the top here and you select the summary list. And I'll just go through exactly what I did here. So I'll do customer with aging buckets 2. So my base list is going to be the one we're just on, where we build our calculated fields. We can select a group for it. I'm just going to put it in my custom reports group. Group to field, group by field is essentially what we're going to summarize on. So what makes the most sense here is to summarize this on the customer number. And then we have the option for summary methods. So I'm going to take the sum of each one of these so that we get our, total amount for each one of these aging buckets for each one of the customer numbers. So yeah, you can see it's very simple to set up. I just hit add list and essentially I've got the bulk of the report built out. I have my group by field, customer number, and my summary fields as well. Then the last thing I did was just add some additional summary fields. So I didn't want to use sum for these ones. I just used first to get things like the address, the city, maybe the balance, the customer name, no, we already had the customer number. And then we don't particularly want the document type and document number here as well, because they're going to be kind of transaction specific. So once we have all that done, we essentially have our report built. The last thing to do is just add some of the default fields here. So I'll just go ahead and put these all in. And we can maybe order them slightly better. But that will be fine for now. And then if we preview this, we're going to see a very similar report to what I showed you in Business Central, where we should have our 5 customers and the aging buckets. So there we have it. Our age receivables report is built. The next step would be just to add this into the Business Central widget so that our end users can access this directly inside of BC. So we've covered a lot of different tools here. Query Builder, started there to build out our base list. Then we added some calculated fields. And then finally, we use this summary report to just bring it all together. But hopefully this video showed you how easy and quick it is to build out these really useful reports for Business Central using Popdock. And maybe help you solve that gap as well that Business Central currently has with its age receivables. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.